So over the last month, I've had some extreme clinical results. On the one hand, a complete remission from a client with leukemia, which was so much happiness. You know, completely substantiated by every test the doctors can figure out, because they don't understand how it could be. Complete PET scans, complete bone things, anyway. So that's pretty exciting. And then I had a young woman die on me. I don't know if she died on me, but she passed. And she had never had chemo. She was young. She worked hard. In some ways it wasn't, in some ways she was my ideal client. But she ended up passing. So I've been living with these two extremes over the last few weeks. And it's like, what makes the difference? Evidently, I don't make the difference. It's the person who's being healed. So if you are looking for healing, I'm actually listening to her right now, the woman that passed. She's an artist. She's sensitive to, subtle things. But I said, how come it didn't work for you? How come I couldn't help you live? And yet I can help others live, either longer or completely have their cancer remit. And she's telling me now, I'm channeling, so to speak, that she's not sure. Might be divine timing, it might be all that. She says, but if it was actually a technical thing, she thinks she was too in her head and too scared. I said, yeah, but you kind of were on the verge of death. So that seems sort of normal and appropriate to be very, very scared. And she says, be that as it may, it kept me from paying attention to the subtle things that might have guided me into making the cycling work better. So, she says, I was actually expecting you to do a miracle. Trying to pay for a miracle. She said, I knew that you said that it was my process and all that, but I didn't know how to do my process. How do you do something inside yourself and have your cancer go away? And she says, in retrospect, she didn't really, she tried, but she was too full of fear. And that's happened a couple of other times with people who've passed on. They have these honking tumors, they get chemo, they feel so good because the tumor shrinks. And suddenly they're able to do all the exercises that I wanted them to do, because of this background of fear that seems to just paralyze their thinking. You think you're there, but you're not, kind of like driving drunk. You think you're trying, but you're actually really terrified. And it keeps you from problem solving, from strategically observing if anything is happening, or if nothing's happening, to get creative and to do something different. So I'd like to talk just a bit more about magical thinking and miracles. So to me, a miracle is just something we don't understand the lawful way that it's working. So like if you put baking soda and vinegar together, it does this big thing. It's like, unless you know chemistry, that's like miraculous, right? Like, gosh, you just put these two things and all this big activity started happening. And, it's two seemingly inert substances, and it goes on and on and on. It's sort of a miracle if you've ever kneaded bread and had the bread rise, those chemical reactions. It's sort of miraculous how babies are created and gestated and born. It feels like all of life is full of miracles. And yet science and observation break it down until we understand it more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And I would suggest that energy healing is no different, that it actually works within lawful parameters that we may not be aware of, but we can observe them and we can tweak what we're doing and then notice if we're getting more results. So I think in my $47 masterclass, it goes through all the things to and I think it's advertised all over the Facebook group. Maybe Cassidy will, if you're here, you can put it in the chat. But anyway, you can observe certain things, and that you can have your heart open, you can hope, you can love yourself, you can have all these spiritual, emotional things happening. And some of that, this state that you're in, might actually be something that you can observe. You might observe like, oh, I just relaxed and now I feel like more upright. That's actually something to observe. Or you might notice like, oh, I just started breathing better. Or you might notice the tumor cooling down. Or you might notice that, oh, ever since I started doing this energy work, I'm sleeping better. So these are all signs that you're on the right track. They don't tell us mechanism. And I've thought a lot about the mechanism, especially when I'm faced with a month like this where somebody lives and somebody dies. And I feel like I tried my best both times to help each one of them. And so what was different? I will continue to communicate with the woman who died. I feel like so much of my wisdom of how to actually do this comes from the people that pass on, because they have a broader perspective, I think, now. It's not like they know everything, but they're no longer scared because they already did the scary thing of dying. So yeah. Alrighty, so yes, healing's a miracle, but it doesn't mean it's unlawful. And if you're busy praying for a miracle, sometimes you don't get the guidance that God or your unconscious is clearly able to do. So guidance can come in the form of your intuition, an idea, a hunch. I like to do automatic writing in the morning. I ask questions and then the answers come to me in ways that I wouldn't if I wasn't writing. That, there's so many ways to get guidance. And if we're busy just praying for a miracle or trying to pay for a miracle, it really stops the process. And most of us don't deliberately do that. Like this woman who died, she was very smart, very sensitive. I think, and she just said that it was her fear that kept her from really opening to the love, the grace. I call the grace of the divine, a little bit of wandering here. I was talking to somebody about what my definition of grace is. To me, grace is not some cosmic bank account, like you do something good and then sometime later you get some random helpful thing happen to you. To me, grace is more like in the here and now. It's the love and it's the information field that I experience as love. Love is more like a feeling and maybe a little bit of a thought. But grace is beyond that. It's when these seemingly miraculous things happen. And my sense is that if you could work through the perspective of the beyond, you would see how that grace worked. And you could be led to opening to more grace. And when something happens as if by grace, that's another way of saying a miracle. But it doesn't mean you shut off your brain. It doesn't mean you shut off your awareness of anything else. You tune in more. So, like an example is, say you're out here in the woods and you blow a tire and the tires are too heavy to, like I'm not strong enough to lift the tire out of my thing, and then somebody comes along and helps you get to where you need to be, or something like that. You call that a miracle, an event of grace. And but actually, when the tire, and this actually didn't happen to me, so don't worry about me. But it's like what would I do if that happened? My sense is that the grace of the divine, I would open to it, and something would shift, and it would seem like a miracle. But there's a way of opening to the divine in your heart or in your energy field. I feel like I do it when I spin really, 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 really fast. It's like I spin so fast, I pop into a different dimension. All right, this is sort of rambly, sorry. Let's get going with the healing. If you're watching this on YouTube, just know that you're very welcome. This has been the teaching portion of a free distance healing that I do every Friday, most every Friday, in Facebook. And if you want to join us, go to the Spirit Gate Cancer Support Facebook group, and you're welcome to join us here. It just creates a little bit of a, you have to put a little bit of effort to join us, and I feel like that enhances the results. It also enhances the results if you submit your name every single solitary week, or have someone submit the name if you can't figure out Facebook. But if you want to, I feel like it helps. The files section on the Facebook group give you the instructions, or you can ask us. And Joseph, our longtime member, thank you so much. He helps people, but if he puts, I can tell the people that he's put in because his email address is next to it. So if you want to get the reminders, if you can figure out how to submit your name yourself, the reminders are just like, hey, this is happening at 10:30 Eastern time. So you can also set an alarm if Facebook is daunting, and I totally understand that. Okay, so let's do it. All right.